They said, "You're lucky to be alive." But I wish I wasn't. It was supposed to be a routine drive, just 18 minutes between the restaurant and home. I wasn't speeding. I wasn't texting. I was just driving. She was in the passenger seat, singing along to a song she loved, and I remember thinking how unfair it was that she could sound that beautiful without trying. That was the last thought I had before the world snapped in half. They said the other car ran a red light, said the driver was drunk, said he hit us at 74 miles per hour, said she died on impact. I didn't feel the impact. I didn't feel anything until I opened my eyes in the hospital and saw my mother sitting by the bed, her face gray, her lips trembling. She said, "You're okay. You're going to be okay." I asked where Mia was. She didn't answer. That silence was the loudest thing I've ever heard. I don't remember screaming. I don't remember pulling the IVs out of my arm or trying to stand. But apparently I did. 2 nurses had to hold me down. The doctor injected something into my arm and everything turned black again. When I woke up, she was still gone, and I was still here, alive. Lucky. That's what they kept saying. You're lucky. It's a miracle. You should be grateful. They didn't see what I saw when I finally left that hospital. They didn't see her toothbrush next to mine, her shoes by the door, her mug, the one that said, "I hate mornings" in big, bold letters, still sitting in the sink with cold coffee at the bottom. I walked through the apartment like it was a crime scene. Every item untouched, but everything broken. I couldn't breathe in there, not without her. So I didn't. I left, drove for hours, slept in parking lots, avoided my phone, ignored the funeral. Yeah, I skipped it. They buried her without me. People said it was disrespectful, said I owed her more than that. But I couldn't stand in front of a box that held the only person who ever looked at me like I was something more than just there. They said she died instantly. But I wonder, did she see it coming? Did she look at me? Did she try to say something? Did I blink at the exact second she slipped away? Was I too slow? Was there something I could have done? Anything? They say it's survivor's guilt. I say it's just guilt, because I was driving, because she was next to me, because I survived. And every day since, I've asked the same question. Why not me instead? No one has an answer. They just keep saying the same damn thing. You're lucky to be alive. But every morning I wake up in a world without her, and all I feel is that I wasn't supposed to wake up at all. The hospital sent a therapist to check on me. His name was David. Clean cut, soft voice, the kind of person who probably practiced, nodding in a mirror. He sat across from me in the apartment, our apartment, on the couch Mia picked out. I hadn't sat on that couch since the crash. "I'm here to talk," he said. I didn't answer. He looked around like grief was something he could read off the walls. "Do you remember what happened?" he asked. I stared at him. Of course I remembered. I remembered everything before the crash, and nothing after. That's the curse. You remember the smile, the laugh, the song she was singing. You remember the warmth in the car, the softness of her voice. Then it just stops, like someone hit mute on the world. "I remember enough," I said. He nodded like that was progress. Then he said something that made me want to hit him. "You'll find a way to move forward. She'd want you, too." I stood up. "Get out." He hesitated. I said, "Get out." He left. Didn't say another word. Closed the door gently behind him like I was fragile glass. They kept sending people after that. Friends, family, priests, volunteers, all of them with the same sentences like they were pulling from the same damn script. "She'd want you to. Be strong. Time heals. Everything happens for a reason. You still have your life." That last one hit hardest because I didn't want it. What was I supposed to do with this life? Eat breakfast alone every morning in silence? Pretend like I care about gas prices and weekend plans? Watch our favorite shows and pretend I'm laughing? There was a morning, 3 weeks after the crash, when I found her earrings on the nightstand. Tiny silver hoops. I picked one up, held it between my fingers, and broke. I slid down the wall and sat there for hours. Didn't eat, didn't move, just stared at that earring like maybe, somehow, it would answer back. It didn't. Nothing did. I tried writing her a letter once, thought maybe it would help. Got 3 words in. "I miss you." That was all I had. Everything after that was just pain. Because grief isn't poetic. It's not clean or beautiful or Instagram-worthy. It's messy, ugly. It crawls under your skin and makes every breath feel like theft. And the worst part? The world moves on. People stop calling. They stop checking in. Your inbox dries up. You walk into stores and no one knows you're broken. They ask, "How are you?" and expect, "Fine." So you lie. You smile. And inside, you scream. They said, "I was lucky to be alive." I wonder if any of them would say that if they had to live this part. I tried going back to work. Everyone said it would help. Give me structure. Distract me. Make things feel normal again. Normal. What a disgusting word. I walked into the office, and everything was exactly the same. Same coffee machine. Same cheap carpet. Same smell of burnt microwave lunches. Only I wasn't the same. They gave me that look. The one where they don't know whether to hug you or avoid eye contact. Half smiles, nods, awkward shoulder touches. One guy said, "Man, I can't even imagine." Then walked away like that counted as support. My desk had a sympathy card. On it, signed by people I barely talk to. Generic messages. Thinking of you. Wishing you peace. Stay strong. Stay strong. As if I hadn't been breaking from the inside out since the second she left. I sat down and stared at my monitor for 20 minutes before realizing I hadn't turned it on. When I did, it booted up with a background photo. 1. I forgot I'd set. Me and Mia at the lake last summer. She was holding an ice cream cone and laughing, some of it on her nose. She hated that photo. I loved it. It shattered me. I turned the screen off and left. Didn't tell anyone. Just walked out and never went back. I started talking to her out loud after that. Not in a spiritual way. Not because I thought she could hear me. I just needed to. Speak into the silence. "Do you know what it's like without you?" I said once, sitting in the car. "It's like breathing underwater. Like walking on broken glass and pretending it's fine." Sometimes I'd yell. Sometimes I'd whisper. But always the same message. Why wasn't it me? One night I opened her drawer. The one with her journals. She wrote in them all the time. Grocery lists, dreams, sketches, notes to herself. The last entry was 2 days before. The crash. Thinking about getting a puppy. Not sure if he'd like the couch. Might name him Orbit. Orbit. That was the kind of name she'd come up with. Random. Ridiculous. Perfect. She wanted a dog. She wanted a future. She was making plans. And they were gone. Just like that. But I was still here. Standing in her space, breathing air she should have had. People keep calling it an accident, but it wasn't just that. It was theft. A drunk man in a car with no brakes, no sense, no right. He took her and left me. I think about him more than I admit. He lived too. Walked away with a fractured arm. Didn't even lose consciousness. They said he cried when he saw what he'd done. I don't care. Because when he cried, she was already dead. They said I should be grateful I survived. But I don't feel grateful. I feel empty. And I don't know if that ever changes. A few months passed. I stopped counting the days. It didn't matter anymore. Time wasn't real. Not when every day felt the same. Wake up. Remember she's gone. Pretend to function. Go to bed. Repeat. I didn't shave. Didn't clean. I stopped answering calls. The walls of our apartment grew heavier, like they were pressing in a little. More each day, I didn't fight it. Then, out of nowhere, her sister showed up, Emily. She knocked for a while. I didn't move. I thought maybe she'd go away. She didn't. She opened the door with a spare key and walked right in like she used to, before everything fell apart. I heard her gasp when she saw the place. Piles of laundry, dishes, trash bags near the door, curtains shut, air thick with everything I hadn't dealt with. She didn't yell, didn't scold. She sat down on the floor in front of the couch and said, she wouldn't want this. I laughed, not because it was funny, because that's what people kept saying. She wouldn't want this, as if grief listened to logic. I told her, you don't know what she'd want. She looked at me, not angry, just tired. Actually, I do. She reached into her bag and handed me something, a folded note. Old, worn, torn at the edges. She wrote this when you were in the hospital. I didn't want to read it, but I did. It was short, just a few lines. If he wakes up and I'm not there, tell him I love him. Tell him none of this is his fault. Tell him to live the life we didn't finish. I held the note like it might break in my hands. She wrote that for me, with the last time she had. Emily didn't say anything else. She just started cleaning, picking up trash, folding blankets, washing dishes. I didn't help. I just sat there, holding the note while my world slowly rearranged itself into something that didn't feel like death. It didn't bring Mia back. Nothing ever could. But for the first time, I wasn't alone inside the silence. Later, that night I walked into the bathroom and looked at myself. First time in weeks. I looked wrecked, but I was breathing, still standing. And suddenly, I heard her voice in my head. Not a memory, just something I knew she would have said. "You're still here, so do something with it." It didn't feel like forgiveness, didn't feel like peace, but it felt like something, like maybe, if I couldn't stop hurting, I could start moving. Even if it was slow, even if I had to crawl, I started walking. Not for exercise, not for clarity. I just needed to be anywhere but inside that apartment. At first, it was just around the block. Hood up, head down. No destination, no music, just footsteps and thoughts. Then, one day, I ended up at the cemetery. I didn't mean to go there. I hadn't been since the burial. I told myself it didn't matter, that she wasn't really there. Just stone and dirt and a name, but there I was, staring at her name carved into marble. Maya Rose Hawthorne, 993-2023. She loved fiercely and lived loud. I stood there for a long time, didn't say anything, didn't cry. I just stood. And finally, I said what I'd been too afraid to say. I'm sorry. Not just for surviving, but for hiding, for shutting down, for disappearing when her memory needed to be louder than ever. After that, I started walking there once a week. Sometimes I brought flowers. Sometimes I just sat on the bench nearby and talked out loud. Told her about the dreams, the nightmares, the weird things that still made me laugh. It didn't fix anything, but it gave me a place to feel her, to remember her voice without breaking, to picture her smile without guilt swallowing me whole. It was progress. Barely. But still. Then came the letter. It arrived in a plain envelope, no return address. Inside was a typed note. You don't know me, but my brother was the one who hit your car. He's in rehab now. He talks about her every day. He doesn't sleep. He's not looking for forgiveness. But I wanted you to know. He's trying to become someone she'd be proud of, even if she never knew him. I reread that letter 10 times. Then I sat on the floor staring at it. I didn't know what I felt. Rage? Relief? Pain? Maybe all of it. But for once, it wasn't just me holding the weight. Someone else, even the one who broke everything, was carrying a piece of it too. Later that night, I pulled out my notebook, the one I hadn't opened since she died, and I wrote, I'm still here, I still wish I wasn't sometimes, but I'm trying. One step, one breath, one page. I miss you every second, but I think you'd be proud of this one. At least I hope so. It wasn't a resolution. It wasn't peace. But it was something, and for someone who never wanted to wake up again. That meant everything. Finally opened her laptop. It had been sitting on the kitchen table since the crash. Untouched. Closed. Like it was waiting. I didn't know what I was looking for. Maybe something unfinished. A letter. A video. A reason. It booted up slow. Password was the same as always. The name of her first dog. Pickles. That made me smile. Once it opened, I saw folders everywhere. Photos, work stuff, half-written stories. She'd never shown me. She used to say she wrote for fun, but never let me read much. There was one folder named For Later. Inside, dozens of files, poems, notes, birthday ideas, recipes, and one document called If Anything Ever Happens to Me. I froze. I clicked. She had written it a year before the crash. Not dramatic, not morbid, just prepared. She had cancer in her family. Used to say, you never know. The letter was short. To whoever finds this, if anything ever happens to me, don't waste too much time being angry at the world. It's not worth it. Hug the people you love. Tell the truth. Cry when you need to. And if you're reading this, and it's you, Know that I loved you in ways I never had words for. You were it for me, you still are. I sat there frozen, reading that line again. You still are. She wrote it before she knew anything would happen, before any of this. But somehow, it was exactly what I needed. I didn't even know how long I cried. Not the kind of sobbing that chokes you, just tears. Steady, quiet, like they'd been waiting too. That night, I printed the letter and framed it, put it on my bedside table. I wanted her to be the first thing I saw when I woke up, even if it hurt, even if it reminded me of everything I lost, because it also reminded me of what I had, and maybe, in some strange way, what I still have. Her love, her words, her belief in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. The next morning I got up and made pancakes, burned the first batch. She would have teased me for that. I smiled, and for once, it wasn't fake, just small, but real. It's been 1 year now, 12 months since the crash, 12 months since the silence, 12 months since the last time I heard her voice in real time. People still say the same thing sometimes. You're lucky to be alive. They don't know what they're saying. I used to hate those words. They felt like a slap, like survival was a reward instead of a sentence. But now, I've learned something they haven't. Being alive after loss isn't lucky. It's work. Every day you get up and carry the weight of what's missing. Every night you sit with the quiet that used to be filled with laughter. Every smile, every laugh, every step forward comes with a piece of guilt attached. But I'm still here, and I've started to understand what that means. I'm not lucky, but I'm trying. I've found ways to keep her close, without breaking. I read her stories to children. At the library now, I tell them about the girl who wanted to name a dog Orbit and used to dance in the kitchen in mismatched socks. I show them her drawings. I say her name out loud. Mia. Not because I need to remember it, but because the world still needs to know it. She lived, she mattered, and I refuse to let her disappear quietly. I've also started talking to others like me. People who carry loss around like a shadow, people who smile in public and fall apart in private. And I tell them the truth. You don't move on, you move with it. The grief becomes part of you. The guilt becomes quieter. The memories stop hurting as much and start warming you again. But none of it ever goes away. And that's okay, because it means they mattered. There are still hard days, anniversaries, birthdays, songs she loved that come on the radio when I least expect them. But I've stopped wishing I wasn't here. That thought used to live in my bones. Now it only visits, because little by little I've learned to make space for both things. The pain of losing her, and the joy of still carrying her with me. Tonight, I lit a candle by her photo. I read the note she left. I said goodnight out, loud, not because I believe she hears me, but because I need to hear me. And in case no one ever tells you this, if you're surviving something you thought would break you, that's not lucky, that's brave, and you're not alone, not anymore. If this story stayed with you, even just a line of it, comment the word, still healing, still grieving, still here, still loving someone who isn't. And if you know someone who needs this, share it. Because sometimes, the loudest heartbreaks are the ones we carry in silence.